Welcome to Artwork by Mary. Glad you could join me. I wanted to take you through a painting that I did for someone based on this photograph of their home that they are moving out of, but they love the home and their beautiful, gentle dog that they just really love. The dog is getting older, and the plan is that this would make a nice gift for them. So I use the photo references, as you can see, right on my phone, and I always begin with a light pencil drawing. I had to be a little picky in this drawing because obviously with a home that you want to pay tribute to, you want to make sure you get the number of windows right and whatnot. But so you can see my setup here with my gouache paints. I do a mixture of watercolor and gouache for these paintings. It gives me the ability to work light to dark, dark to light. You're seeing there my Hake brush. That's Hake, and it's a brush to just lay in large washes, which is what I'm doing here in this part of the video. And I'm using the gouache really more like watercolor at this point, very loose, because I know that it's going to dry much lighter. I actually go back in and put a little more of that cobalt blue in there. And then later on, after that dries just a little bit, I go back in with a paper towel and kind of remove some of the color, leaving a little bit of a texture, which ends up looking like a bit of a white cloud behind the house. So here you can see it starting to dry. And then I've already put the kind of cloud texture in. And then I start with a very warm color because the photo had just beautiful light. The photo was taken by my friend Sharon. She's the one that's gifting this to her friend. You can see here I used a piece of blue tape to draw a difference between the different warmth blends that I wanted to put in. And I start laying in some of the darks immediately. What looks like blue foliage is really going to be shadows on the house. It's really kind of crazy what it looks like at this stage. You just kind of have to trust and move forward. I throw in the real darkest darks of the trees, the windows. I had darkened the roof a bit. I start laying in very dark areas of the foliage, and the foliage that's closest to the viewer, knowing that I can paint over some lighter parts later. I like to sort of give you an idea of my setup. I'm working in several different places. I'm at my lake house, and I've got a nice little view out the window. I'm giving you some close-ups here so you can see that I'm doing that blue shadow on the home, which is the reflected shadow of the trees near the house. Still doesn't quite have the right light yet, but here I've started to lay in the blues on the dog. There's definitely a blue cast. He's a black dog, but when the light hits a black dog, typically you get that beautiful blue color reflected on his fur. And you can see I've started laying in some of those really bright flowers that are in front of their gorgeous home. And I think a real important part here is the grass. Here's another shot of me working outside and my little dog Roxy laying by my side. And I just have my stuff very simply set up on a chair. Here's the progress. I'm really trying to lay in some more details in the foliage that's most forward to the viewer, and I'm throwing in some very bright whites onto the house because the house looked cream color because of the lighting of the photo, and I wanted to make sure that I had it read, truly like a white house, but just with some bit of dramatic lighting. And right now I'm very, very carefully removing the blue tape, the painter's tape, so that it can create a nice crisp edge. I always like to take a video of this when I can, because when I watch other people's videos on YouTube, I love watching them remove the tape and see the nice clean edge it leaves. You just have to be careful when you remove it. Always pull away from the drawing and not towards it. That may be obvious, but I'll tell you, sometimes I'm not paying attention, and I've made that mistake many, many times, and it can rip right into your drawing. So I like the part best, probably the way the grass came out And of course I'm cutting away to this boat that is just cruising by as I'm removing the tape. Sort of nice scenery. And they're pulling I think it's a water skier. Or, sorry, tubers. Some people on a tube. That's in my backyard in Coventry, Rhode Island. Anyway, I'm removing the tape and giving you a closer look at that reflected, or I shouldn't say reflected, the shadow on the house, which really reads as blue. And you really can't do more work on the foliage that is laying over onto the blue tape, because once you pull that off, you'll never be able to get that crisp edge again. So I really had to make sure I was pretty damn close to finished before I started pulling that tape off. So it'll give you an idea of the layering I did on the leaves on the right hand corner of the painting. You know, I went from dark, and then I went to light, and then I went back into dark, and then I added just a few little branches just to kind of trick the viewer into thinking that I went extremely detailed. I really didn't. I don't have video of me actually painting all of that part. I wish I could, but honestly it gets in the way of my painting if I'm always worrying about getting the video. Here you can see a little bit close up of my dog as well as my hand trying to manipulate pulling the tape while I'm running the camera. But you can see I made larger grass shapes as it comes forward to the viewer, but as it went away behind the dog, it's really just laid in washes, very simple. And that is to kind of give the illusion of depth. So real important to always keep that in mind. And then I'll give you a final view of the painting before I slap it in a frame. The light is a little washed out there. There we go. That's a better view of it, the final painting before it's framed up. And I thought I'd give you some close-up views of parts of the house and the foliage on both sides, and how that backdrop dried the sky and the clouds. And my favorite part is the grass, which is weird, I know, but I also like the dog. I think he has a pretty decent likeness. I tried not to get too picky. The dog itself, his head is barely a ½ inch, so I couldn't get too crazy there. But a final look at the painting, and then just by contrast, one more look at the reference photo. You see I really, made a few changes. You definitely have to do that. And a close-up of their cutie dog. And then a final peek at how I framed it in a very wide, sort of shabby-looking frame. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me. And if you could hit the like and subscribe button, that is always appreciated. It lets me know that I should either make more videos or maybe not. So thanks so much.